the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
I just put your name, and I put your name double, and that did not mean to do that.
It's okay.
Dan Moore, excuse me.
I mean, Dan Moore, I think, first of all, I know that he's well-liked in the building. So I think that he's a really good depth piece to have. And the thing in the NFL is, like, there's no such thing as depth offensive lineman. I get that. But in terms of, like, what he was last year, I think it would be irresponsible of the Steelers to go into the season with him as the left tackle. I think he's fine, to have in place of injury and whatnot. But the report came out too today about players who earn the most off of, what was it, like incentives or like payment incentives. And Dan Moore had $790,000 in incentives that he earned, which is 23rd in the NFL. So
he was number one.
I don't know.
It was John Simpson from the Baltimore Ravens, who's now on the New York Jets.
Yes.
Okay.
So Dan Moore, fine guy to have that can start like a couple games and whatnot. As a full-time left tackle, I don't like that, and I think the Steelers agree with that. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan have both been asked a lot this offseason about, hey, you're going to keep Broderick Jones at right tackle, or are you going to move him to left tackle? Both of them have been pretty adamant about, hey, we drafted Broderick to be a left tackle. It's just a matter of when we make that transition for him to go back to the left side. I think that the plan will be, for the Steelers in the first two rounds, whatever order it may be, to take a guy who will be the next center, because they don't really have a center on the roster right now, and somebody else who can either play left tackle and they just keep Broderick on the right side, or someone who can be that right tackle and they can move Jones to the left. That's why Marius Mims makes a lot of sense, because he is that natural right tackle that they can put over there. The kid from Notre Dame as well, whose
Joe
name
Alt.
is the other one, the other tackle.
Blake Fisher.
Blake Fisher, yeah, that's another name that's been connected to them. Patrick Paul as well from Houston. So, I mean, they have options in terms of what they want to do at that spot. Graham Barton could be a guy that they take and move inside. If they want to take Zach Frazier from West Virginia at center, maybe Jackson Powers Johnson, depending on where he falls. But the two biggest things for them right now are what they decide to do at left tackle and who is going to be the center. It's, I would say, 99% likely going to be someone who they draft is going to be the center. But it's a greater than zero chance that Dan Moore is, still the week one starter. And even if they do draft a guy like they did last year, they took Broderick Jones in the first round last year. He didn't become a starter until midseason. So they were patient to a fault, I would say, especially with Broderick Jones last year with their rookies. But I would expect whomever are the starters to be guys they draft probably within the first two rounds.
Interesting. JP, when you talk about, when Jarrett, you're talking about Broderick Jones making that flip, and that's always kind of in the plan. I mean, JP, you were talking about it last week, I think, where Penei Sewell is kind of the exception to the rule. Is Broderick Jones also an exception to the rule that he can play either side?
Well, I think the Steelers were really dumb, because Broderick Jones played left tackle in college, and then they moved him to right. He looked good. He looked fine early at right tackle, but it was clear he was much more comfortable on the left side. They could have just moved him to left, where you play your first round pick after he naturally played there for the first 3 years.
Dude, and not only that, but they benched a better tackle in Chuks Okorafor and kept the worst tackle, Dan Moore, in. Chuks Okorafor is now in New England, and he's going to start at right tackle. So the entire strategy of that, it was not good.
Yeah, it was just weird what they were doing. And to me, it's really hard going from left to right or right to left, because it's basically like muscle memory. These guys have been playing left or right tackle for probably the last 4 to 8 years of their lives. That kick slide, the ability, the different hand usage, those things change when you go over to the left side. I think Dan Pompey from The Athletic wrote a story about Tristan Wirfs moving from right to left last year, and he was very adamant about, like, I needed to go to therapy because I didn't think I could do this. So it's a much more difficult thing than people realize, because this isn't just Madden. You can't just flip them from left to right and have nothing change, or flip them from right to left and have nothing change. But in Broderick Jones' case, he'll probably be fine because he was a left tackle in the first place. The Steelers were just stupid.
Well, that's exciting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe, and no pressure or anything. You just traded for Justin Fields and signed Russell Wilson. No pressure on getting the tackles right going into this year.
And I think that's why the first 2 picks that they have are going to be on the offensive line. I think whoever they take in the first 2 rounds, it's going to be a tackle and then a center just to really fix the issues that they had up front last year, because they released Mason Cole because he was really bad at center. And I think that they know internally, like, okay, Dan Moore can't be our starting left tackle. Like, that can't be the plan again. So I would like to see them bring in a guy to put on the right side and move Broderick back to left, because, again, that is his natural position. He played well at right tackle last year. And the Steelers' run game basically ran through him. But I would prefer to see him on the left side. And a lot of the things that I think played into them having him on the right side is that he was pretty raw in pass protection coming into last year. So, with another full camp under him, I think that you traded up for him, by the way. You didn't just draft him, you traded up to get him. So hopefully going into week 1, Broderick Jones is on the left side. Zach Frazier or JPJ are at center. And then whomever else they draft, whether that be Amarius Mims or whoever will be on the right side.
I love it. Any other big news this week in Steelerland, Jarrett Bailey?
Any other big news in Steelerland? Cordero Patterson, that happened. Did we talk about that last week?
We did not talk about that because that happened after, and it happened right after.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.